Thanks, everyone. We'll call to order this meeting of the Finance Committee for December 20th, 2022. Bill, will you do the roll call, please?
Yep. Haniro?
Here.
Ramsey?
Here.
Kuhn?
Here.
Olson?
Here.
All are present.
Okay, great. Moving on to approval of the minutes of the December 6th, 2022 Finance Committee meeting. I'll move approval.
I'll second that. This is Kuhn.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the December 6th, 2022 Finance Committee meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The ayes have
Ramsey
it.
abstains, I wasn't here.
Oh, okay. One abstention, thank you. Moving on to the audit of the bills to be paid. Bill, do you have any updates to share with us?
Yes, I have two additions tonight. Both of these are prepayments of 2023 insurance amounts. The first is to Gallagher Insurance. That's for our aviation liability insurance paid from the airport fund. The amount is $4,868. And then the second is for MPIC, Municipal Property Insurance Company. That is for our 2023 property insurance coverage. That's being expensed to the Risk Management Fund and then is allocated across the other funds. That amount, which is the annual premium, is $129,527.
Okay, thank you for that. Would someone like to move approval?
Ramsey will move approval.
This is Kuhn. I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the audit of the bills with the addition of the two insurance charges that Bill just mentioned. Any discussion?
I do have a question. I see in here there's the $150,000 for the NOAA contract. I know last year they only spent $33,000. Was the remainder of that already paid out to, is it Elevate or Sustain, whichever?
This is the first payment to Elevate. During the budget process, we had asked departments to provide their estimate of the amount that would be spent in 2022. The estimate at that time was that $37,500 would be paid under this project, and then there was a request to carry over the balance. At this point, nothing has been paid yet. This $150,000 represents the first payment to Elevate. I did go and look at the agreement, and the agreement does allow for an advance to be requested of the funds. So this would be making a payment for what was budgeted for the full amount for 2022, paid as an advance to Elevate.
In advance, so
Yep.
that not knowing how many applications they're going to get and how much they're going to spend, if this doesn't pan out, then that money comes back to us depending on how much they spend, or is this like a contract for them to?
Yeah, the agreement does specify that there's an advance. They need to provide documentation of how everything is spent, and if not all of it is spent, that it would be returned to the city.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the audit of the bills to be paid with the two insurance additions signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to resolutions, we have three. First one is Resolution 2022-74, thanking the Wisconsin Foundation for the donation of $25,000 for Stonehorse Green programming.
Olson, I'll move approval, and during the council meeting, I'd like to read the resolution.
Okay,
That'd be nice.
I'll second that. Any
Nice to do that.
discussion other than expressing thanks to the Wisconsin Foundation? No? All right, all those in favor of approving Resolution 2022-74, thanking the Wisconsin Foundation for the donation of $25,000 for Stonehorse Green programming, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it, and Alder Olson will read that during the council meeting. Moving on to our second resolution, 2022-75, amending the 2023 budget for ambulance billing revenue and related accounts. I'll move approval.
Olson, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Bill, would you like to give an update?
Yeah, I can do that. So previously there was action to approve the budget, and then at the last meeting discussing adjusting the EMS fee schedule. After that action, the EMS chief, Steve Wunsch, had put together revised estimates on what he's anticipating for ambulance billing revenue, the service cost sharing with the town. So as billing revenue goes up, the portion billed to the towns goes down. And then finally, the payments that we pay to the outside services for the billing company. So those numbers are reflected in the tables included in the resolution. The net impact of additional revenue minus the additional expenses for the billing company is $35,349 projected for 2023. And the recommendation that's reflected in the resolution is to add that amount to the city's general contingency. That would bring that to a total of $135,349. And then that would be available for allocation by the council if desired, or could remain there as a contingency to help offset revenue variations or other variations in the budget.
Great, thank you, Bill. Any questions or discussion? I like that this is going into our general contingency. That's great. Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving Resolution 2022-75, amending the 2023 budget for ambulance billing revenue and related accounts, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Third and last resolution is 2022-76, amending the 2023 budget for tax increment financing District Number 5 for a 0.5% for arts allocation.
Olson, I'll move approval, 0.5% for arts.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Abby, is this only for TID 5? We wouldn't get any, well, I know TID 3, there's not anything coming on
Yes, we're only recommending that this come out of the TID 5 budget because when we looked at the average from the last 3 years spent in TIF District 3, there weren't very many developer agreements approved, so it only resulted in about, I think, $2,000. It doesn't mean that the Arts Committee couldn't propose a project within TIF District 3, but that would need to be part of the regular budget process and go through that process. It just wouldn't be reflected in the 0.5% for arts, also because the TID expenditure period ends in 2025, so we would only have a few years.
collected in TID 5, art goes in TID 5.
Yes, correct. Yep. So TID 5, the boundaries of TID 5 actually align really well with the public art master plan because they consider the Parmenter corridor the spine of public art. So it'll help the Arts Committee get some projects done in that spine area. Yeah.
Abby, do you ever anticipate within the next 2 or 3 years anything in TID 3 or no?
I haven't heard of any projects that are proposed. The big one that was done this year was the 2 installations at Stonehorse Green, and those were funded in part by donations and in part by TID 3.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of Resolution 2022-76, amending the 2023 budget for tax increment financing District Number 5 for a 0.5% for arts allocation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to agreements and contracts. We have 2. First one is like deja vu. It's the artwork restoration agreement with Sculpture Resource for Self-Made Man Sculpture in Deming Way Median.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion to approve.
Thank you. I'll second it. Any discussion?
No insurance covered in this, or is that just not enough to meet the deductible?
I
Actually
think there
did
is.
get it covered by insurance. So we used the cost, the first proposal that we got, that we approved, we used that in order to provide that to MPIC, our property insurance company, and they did pay out, I think it was $10,000, which we've been holding in our public arts non-lapsing fund. But that conservator fell ill. We got a second conservator under contract. That conservator had a wrist injury and wasn't able to do the work. So we're hoping third time is a charm here with this one.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the 10,000 we've already received?
Yes, we already have that, so that should cover the full cost of the full restoration of the artwork. That includes cleaning the entire sculpture, waxing, there's oxidation. So they kind of itemize the options in the proposal, and this is the full proposal.
Okay, and I wondered about that because it's clear that, filling the bullet holes is part of the repair, but some of the other work sounded like it was more maintenance, and I was wondering if the insurance company distinguished between those two actions, or is it because the bullet hole repair is going to require some work in that localized area that means you probably should do the whole thing?
I think it could be tied to the bullet hole repair because the finish on that area will look new and shiny compared to the rest of it. So I think that there is a direct link. I'm not sure if MPIC goes back and
No, at this point, they've already gone out, they viewed the damage, looked at the initial quotes, and they've settled the claim, so it's now our funds to use as we feel appropriate to do the repair.
Okay. And when will the work be done?
in spring
Spring, okay.
warm up. Yep.
And I wondered, does the equal benefits apply to this agreement?
Sole proprietor?
Excuse me. The, this contract does not have that standard city clause, no.
Does it need it?
Well, it should have it, yes. Every contractor we work with does normally have that.
Oh,
So
thank you.
if they were willing to add that, that would be helpful.
Yes, I will ask them to add that.
I'm just going to second what Abby said. I am an artist for Hanairo, and so I can tell you when you try to fix a piece of artwork here and the larger one, it doesn't generally match because of wear and tear. So you just kind of have to work through it. So
Thank you. And then the last question I had is there any talk of either putting webcam on this to identify future people who will shoot it? I mean, I just feel like we're going to be having this conversation in a year or two. So I was thinking, can we put cameras on it? Or is there a way to move this sculpture to a more pedestrian-friendly, less likely to be shot place?
We haven't talked about adding webcams. My guess is that if I spoke with our IT department about that, they would probably prioritize other city buildings and park shelters and public spaces over this. This sculpture needs to remain in its current location because it was donated by Bob Bletner, and the city is under agreement that we can de-accession it. If we decide that we don't want it there anymore, we can take it away. But I think that under our agreement, we probably would need to get his authorization to move it.
Okay, just a thought.
Abby, that's been there for how many years already? This is the first time it's had any trouble, other than the birds coming by?
Yeah, it's probably about 12 years. It's been there a while.
I just think it's such a unique piece. I just love it.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, then all those in favor of approving the agreement with Artwork Restoration Agreement with Sculpture Resource for Self-Made Man Sculpture in Deming Median with the addition of equal benefits, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to our second agreement with TRC Environmental Corporation for additional environmental site assessment work at 2610 Parmenter Street.
Ramsey will move approval.
Thank you. I'll second that. Okay, discussion.
Subject to attorney approval on this one, please.
Hear me say that?
You know, I'm getting old over here, Elder Ramsey. You gotta speak
I'll
louder.
speak up.
All right,
Thank you.
so we
Well,
both agreed
this is
to
a
add
very
subject to
silly
city.
revision. They make it subject to the laws of Connecticut. We'll never agree to that. No,
Are
it's very minor. It's on page 13 of 14.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, if any of you know Connecticut law, then you can defend it.
No,
I don't.
I'm guessing it's more liberal than that.
All right, any further discussion of Connecticut or other issues with the contract? If not, all those in favor of approving the agreement with TRC Environmental Corporation for additional environmental site assessment work at 2610 Parmenter Street, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to miscellaneous, we have 3 items. First, an ordinance to amend the fee schedule related to planning, zoning, land division, and sign permit review fees.
Mrs. Olson, I'll move approval.
Thank you.
Ramsey will second.
Right. Olson and Ramsey. Okay. Any discussion?
This now makes us more competitive, doesn't it? I mean, our fees are more in line with our neighboring communities of ours.
Yes, so a lot of the fees that we updated are similar, more similar to a lot of the more growing communities. So I looked mostly at Fitchburg and Nona and Sun Prairie for those fees, but yeah.
Do you happen to, just curious, take a look at Wanakito?
No, I did not.
As we start to look at some of these fees and the things that we change, Wanakee continues to grow, and I think they're going to become a direct competitor to Middleton. So when we start doing some of these things, we should look out and see what they're doing too, when we do comparisons.
Good point.
I did have one correction, and that is section 10.126, subsection 1 doesn't exist. I think it should be .128. So all those references to 10.126 should be 10.128. At least that's my read of chapter 10. So I guess with that amendment, Alder Olson, you okay with that?
I didn't check that number, so I don't know if it's,
Well, I'm looking at
that's
the,
in the ordinances?
I'm looking at the ordinance right now, and it goes from 10.125 zoning administrator to 10.127 permits to 10.128 fees and deposits.
That was not intended.
Yeah, I think it was a typo.
Okay, so you're good with that, Daphne?
Yeah.
The 8, okay, as long as you're good with that, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
And actually, what's on the screen is not, the one that's at our place at the table is the updated one that includes the word
And
major.
Daphne, I appreciate that you sent that out ahead of time. I did.
Yeah, no problem.
I had a chance to look it over before, we had to vote on it. That was nice.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the ordinance to amend the fee schedule related to planning, zoning, land division, and sign permit review fees signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to our second miscellaneous item, the cancellation of the regular Finance Committee meeting, January 3rd, 2023.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of canceling the regular Finance Committee meeting of January 3rd, 2023, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. And related, our last item, miscellaneous number 3, authorization for staff to pay bills for January 3, 2023 with ratification at the January 17, 2023 Finance Committee meeting.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion to approve.
Thank you. I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving or authorizing staff to pay bills for January 3, 2023 with ratification at the January 17, 2023 Finance Committee meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Would someone like to?
adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning our meeting in a record time signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. I'll see you all at 7:30.